Hello everyone. So this is the first lab on the SMC SiF400 trainer. So today we're gonna do component identification. So we're gonna run the stations and we're gonna identify some components on them. So the first thing, let's turn it on. So make sure there's pressure. And in the front cabinet, there's a power switch. Turn it on. Let's wait on it. So here there is an HMI panel. It's a touch with a touch screen, and let's wait for it. Here, of course, you need to make sure that it's the power is on. The e-stop is not pressed, and as you see, while we wait on it. So we are waiting for it to reset and be ready. While it's waiting, let's look at some components here. So as you see, this is the PLC. So if you look at the PLC from the side, it will tell you it's an X20 CP1301 by BR. It has 200 megahertz CPU, 128 megabytes RAM. So this is the CP. This is the PLC. This here is the interface module. Okay, it's an interface module. These here. So these are switches. These are network switches. For example, if you look at it here, this switch here, for instance, it connects to the next station. It connects to the HMI, as you see here, connects to the HMI panel. A1, that's the CPU. You can actually track it over here. You can just remove the conduit and you can track it from here, you know, and see that it actually goes all the way to A1. Okay? This switch over here connects the radio frequency identification sensors. So for instance, RFID 1 and 2. Like for instance, here there's the radio frequency identification. Basically, it reads and it tracks and the pallets, and it determines where they should go based on the input process, based on the inputs that are needed. So as you see here, this is RFID. We can actually track it down. Just remove the conduit over here, and if you track it, we'll see that it ends all the way. Okay, it comes here, and we can track it that it goes all the way there. Okay. Other components, for instance, there's the interface module. This basically interfaces the sensors and the different actuators to the PLC inputs and outputs. This PLC has 30 digital inputs and outputs, as you see here, and they have addresses here. They have labels on them, so we can actually measure the voltages coming from the PLC to different sensors to track down and for troubleshooting purposes. So here we have the power supply. So this is the front panel here. These are motor drives. So these drive the motors on the station. Now let's look at the back panel. Let's look at the station in general. So as you see here, so we have solenoids over here. Solenoids, and they have on them manual overrides. Okay, like for instance, if I want, for example, so this here is for cylinder E. Okay, cylinder E, if you look at it, it's gonna be over here. So this is cylinder E. So let's manually override cylinder E. So you can actually press the manual override buttons, and as you see, it's a spring return. So it's a spring return. It has a spring return mechanism. So as long as you press it, it extends. If I release it, it returns. Some, for example, for instance, here C, for instance, the cylinder C does not have a spring return, but it has double solenoids. Okay, so if I press, for example, the forward, just a pulse, give the pulse, and as you see, the pallet dispenser moves to the left. Then if you give it a pulse over here, the pallet dispenser moves to the right. So these are the solenoids. So we have different cylinders. Some of them are double acting, some of them are single acting. So for instance here, as you see, this is a double acting cylinder, while this one here is a single acting cylinder, for example. There are different sensors also. As you see, there's a lot of photoelectric sensors and different types of sensors. And this station actually, so as you see, it has also there's the transfer module connected to it. So the transfer module, as you see, it's about 4 feet long. It's actually 1.2 meters long. And also, as you see on the back panel, if you look at the back panel, so there's a power supply, there's a pneumatic distribution port, and also interface modules. So let's run the station. The first thing, so as you see, it's ready. It became ready. They both are green to indicate that it's okay, and it has been reset. So the station actually is the feeder. This is the feeder station. It feeds 2 types of pallets. So we have rectangular shaped containers with pallets, and cylindrical shaped containers can be dispensed. These are gravity feeders, as you see. They work by gravity. Okay. If you look at it, for example, here, each of them has, of course, sensors. Let's look at these sensors, for example, here. So if you notice, there are 2 sensors. There's one sensor for part present, to indicate that there's a pallet present in the feeder. This sensor here to indicate that it's low, if it's below that level. So if it's below that level, it will indicate that to the PLC that it needs to be, you need to fill it with pallets. So let's run the station. Let's choose, for example, square canister, and press the start button. So as you see here, it has dispensed the pallet. Let me just fix it. And it's going to pick one of the square containers. So part of this exercise is to run it, to get to know the station. In later exercise, we're gonna track each step, and we're gonna track each sensor and actuator that is actuated in each step. So as you see here, so this is a modular trainer, as you see. So this is the end of today's lab. Before we leave, of course, it's very important to maintain 5S and return everything back to how it was originally before we started. So we're going to return everything, make sure that the wires are neatly returned back and covered. Make sure that you return back the conduits and the wires back to how they were.